I've been on many overnight trips, but none as eventful as this one. I thought a walk through the spooky forest would save me some time. This decision led me on a scary journey. I left the main road and took a narrow and winding path in the forest. It was about 11:30, and at first the GPS seemed stable. I went deeper into the forest. The robot's voice was erratic, but I convinced myself to pick up the phone. The GPS was broken and flickering like a light bulb going out. My phone picked up the connection and showed a no signal sign, which really annoyed me. The forest ate everything, including the moonlight. The trees looked dangerous as my car lights tried to light the way. I tried to ignore that horrible feeling and thought it was just my imagination. I opened the window a little. Suddenly I heard footsteps on cracked leaves. I was reassured that it might be an animal or the wind, but the sound got louder, like someone had snuck up on my car. My heart was pounding and sweat was pouring down my forehead. I looked in the side mirror and there was nothing. I saw a shadow move beside me, like a ghost playing hide and seek among the trees. As I gripped the steering wheel tightly, my knuckles turned white. The forest became a wonderful sight of form and sound. I got scared and quickly ran to escape. The muddy highway made my tires useless. I turned quickly, refusing to stay anywhere near my hiding place. I tried to keep going, but found myself digging a deeper hole. "Hurry, hurry," I pled, hoping for a miracle. Figures visible in headlights approached, crazy empty eyes watching from behind a tree. I felt a shiver run down my spine and had to leave. I turned the car around and stepped on the accelerator, and my car gradually moved forward. I was freed from the mud when the tires started to drag. I drove through the forest as a tree scratched my car. I didn't even dare to look back, but I could hear their murmurs and faint footsteps. The animated GPS cleverly saved me from that terrible situation. I didn't stop until I got to the gas station and collapsed in my seat, my heart pounding like a drum. I had no interest in knowing the identity of any individual or organization in the forest. I learned how important it is to take shortcuts, especially in the woods at night. Staying on the beaten track can sometimes be the right choice. I walked down a lonely road surrounded by these awful trees. It seemed the trees had a dark secret to hide. Some classic rock music was playing on the radio. Then suddenly, the music stopped and settled into a scratchy, eerie roar. I held my breath and started fiddling with the radio controls to get my music back. But this roar turned into something more terrifying. It sounded like a voice whispering from the ground. A shiver ran down my spine. "Let me tell you," one of the voices said. "Turn right now," he whispered. And I didn't think twice about it. I pulled the steering wheel in the direction they told me. The voice kept telling me that it was for my own good to get off the main road, and that I was there to help. My heart stopped beating. I had no idea what these voices were talking about, who they were, or how they interacted with the radio, but I continued to listen as they took me on a detour. They warned me of a bend in the road and swerved just in time to avoid the nasty wreck. Then I started to think, maybe these voices were on my side. But gradually suspicions began to arise. Every voice rang in my ears, and I wondered who they were, why they cared about my safety, and if I could trust them. They kept telling me not to stop. Then in the distance I saw an old gas station that looked blurry with graffiti, rust, and broken windows. The voice told me to park there while the engine was still running, and I saw them. 3 black figures wearing shabby clothes and masks suddenly appeared. One has a mask and a crooked smile, another has hollow eyes, and the third has chipped teeth. They followed my car. I got goosebumps when I saw the man in the center with sharp teeth and blue eyes. They waved me out, and I slowly opened the door, my hands shaking. They waved me out, and I slowly opened the door, my hands shaking. I heard those voices, but was it really the right decision? My heart pounded as I stepped onto the gravel. The masked man approached. I boldly asked, "What do you want?" I asked. "You came here to report," The man replied with a wry smile, his mask off. I got angry and asked, "What does that mean?" But they didn't answer any questions and ran towards me. They were brutal, and there were 3 of them, so I tried to resist. While fighting me, he ate some pebbles. When one of them whispered, "You should have stayed on the freeway," it hit me like a ton of bricks, and not even the voice on the radio could save me. They cleaned everything, me, my wallet, my phone. They quietly disappeared into the shadows, leaving me alone, battered, bleeding. I was stunned like a sheep to the slaughter. I played. A few hours later, I was dragged to the car and tended to my wounds. Because I didn't have a cell phone, the radio finally died as I sped out of that dirty gas station. As night fell, I couldn't shake my fears and questions about masked idiots and mysterious voices on the radio. The road was empty, and I wondered if I would ever shake off the cold of that terrible night. In the vast emptiness, I drove on a deserted, dark road, accompanied solely by the gentle hum of my vehicle. I felt anxious as my gas gauge neared empty. I noticed a nostalgic neon sign in the distance, stating "Last Chance Gas," which was an opportunity not to be missed. I arrived in the gravel parking lot feeling relieved. The scene was desolate, rusty pumps, a rundown building, and a flickering light above the door casting eerie shadows. While pumping gas, I heard fuel gushing into my tank, breaking the silence. I experienced a peculiar, unsettling presence and tingling sensation on my neck. I turned around, but the dark, desolate surroundings showed nothing. The sound, a soft, regular shuffle resembling steps on a gravel surface. I turned swiftly, anticipating a presence. Yet once more, just emptiness within the dark void. I trembled as I called out, "Hello?" Only to be met with the sound of the wind rustling through the trees. It was just anxiety from traveling too much. I entered the building seeking an employee to talk to and calm down. The doorbell jingled upon entry, revealing a creepy interior, musty smell, flickering lights. "No response," I uttered, the words lingering in the unnerving quietness. I went to the counter where a small TV showed security camera footage. I believed that observing it could aid my comprehension of the peculiar sounds. Then it happened. The figure on the screen moved silently like a contorted gargoyle through the dark gas station. I felt my heart race as I saw the unsettling figure come towards the camera. The screen turned off, the monitor flickered, and I hit the counter in frustration. At that moment, the footsteps shuffled back, closer right behind me. Gradually, I pivoted, and my heart almost seized. There was a man, his eyes filled with evil, his face a distorted mask. He had long, jagged nails on his fingers, and his clothes were torn and stained. I stammered, Who are you?" He maintained a wordless gaze, his eyes filled with predatory intent fixed upon me. I swiftly dashed towards the door, the bell forebodingly chiming as I hurriedly emerged into the icy night. I unlocked my car after struggling with my keys, feeling my heart race. I swiftly entered, ignited the motor, and swiftly departed, wheels screeching. Looking back, I thought I might see the terrifying figure following me, but there was nothing. I sensed an incomprehensibly evil presence after leaving the gas station behind and driving away. I desired to avoid further understanding, only seeking an escape. I drove until I reached the next town, while the sun painted a warm glow on the horizon. I arrived at a brightly lit gas station with a friendly attendant and pristine restrooms. I replenished my tank, attempting to cleanse myself of the horror I had experienced. I left and nervously glanced at my rearview mirror, half expecting to see that twisted figure. All I saw was the open road ahead, illuminated by comforting daylight.